Welcome to the Thaiger and Lawyers, Guns and Money, and our local resident lawyer, Ben Hart from Integrity Legal, who's also got his own channel. Ben, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Now, recently you've had a few little blasts on your own channel.
Right.
If people want to see Ben waxing lyrical, having a bit of a whinge about things, you can see him in full flight on his own channel with a tie on.
Right. No, yeah, and a jacket too. I've got a jacket on there.
One of the things you've been speaking about recently, and I mean, this has been a topic of a lot of discussion, is in Thailand we are required, we're told, we're required to wear masks when we're in public. If you go into a restaurant, you can take your mask off if you're eating, but people think, and we do, basically wear masks anytime we pretty much leave the house. But you're a little bit confused from a legal standpoint as to if we legally have to wear masks.
Yeah, I did a video. It's going back about 9 months, maybe a year ago, maybe longer. This 2021 kind of is a pretty fast blur for me.
Yes.
Yeah. From March 2020 on, it seemed like it's been like a week and a half. And not a good week and a half. I went into pretty great detail. You can look at that video about how. So there's the underlying law that sort of is what I would call the enabling act. And let me be clear, this is all just my opinion. I'm not a Thai attorney. I am a Thai citizen. I'm an American attorney. I work with Thai attorneys. I'm the managing director of our firm. I deal with Thai attorneys daily. We sat down when this all kind of started and really poured into reading through the Public Health Act and reading through the emergency decrees that came out with respect to this, the enabling acts associated with it, and it basically comes down to one provision in the Public Health Act, again, that I go into in another video. I can send you the link or something on that. But basically, and I'm kind of talking about this off the top of my head, it basically says they can prohibit certain things under certain circumstances. Now, it's written a little vaguely, and the way I read it is it's written more in a public transport context, but then these emergency decrees got promulgated, and they did it in a very general context. But the thing that I've been wondering since the get-go here is, what precisely are we prohibiting? Are we prohibiting breathing?
Well, do masks stop you from breathing?
No, but what are we prohibiting? When they say you must wear a mask, they're compelling. They're not prohibiting. So what's the prohibition? That's my first point with respect to the way the law is set up. Is, well, if you say you're prohibiting something, for example, I understand we're going to prohibit bars from opening. Okay, that they're just closed until we figure this out. Okay, that's a prohibition. Now, I may disagree with it, but I can understand the legal argument. With respect to this, I've got real issues with it, and you have to understand, again, I'm coming from this as an outside observer. I do have a doctorate in law, but I'm from a common law background. I have studied comparative law, especially civil law, especially Thai law.
And we're not talking about the health or the medical.
I'm not at all talking about medical.
We're not
That's
covering
not
that
my bailiwick. It never has been. Never claimed that at all.
Yes.
Just
before they start.
Yeah. No. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming that. I'm just talking about it from a legal standpoint. Thailand utilizes a civil law system, and the thing you have to understand in a civil law system, in our common law system, what's sometimes called in the Anglosphere the Westminster system, we utilize precedent, and it occurs in case law. Okay, that's not the way a civil law system works, and most importantly, in an effort to protect liberties in a civil law system, the civil law is designed in such a way that if it's not explicitly laid out in the civil law, it's legal. It's de facto legal. So when I say, it's not just some fine semantic point when I kind of say, well, it looks to me like what the law says is they can prohibit something, they can't compel something. I think that goes to the root of the whole issue, legally.
So with the double CSA, which are basically sort of running the whole health protection, public health part of the COVID pandemic under the emergency decree. Mm-hmm. That's where they draw their authority from.
Well, the final authority, my understanding, after, what was it, April of this past year,
yeah,
even the provincial governors kicked their authority back to the prime minister. So CCSA acts as an advisory body to him, and he makes the final decision.
Yeah.
Now, it kind of occurs in a very cabinet-like, it kind of almost consensus, but at the end of the day, it's the prime minister that's doing that.
So if the double CSA say from today you're going to have to wear pink hot pants and floral shirts, you could be arrested if you didn't wear pink hot pants and floral shirts. If you want to take that to court, how's your case going to go?
Well, let me be clear again, not a litigator, not a Thai attorney, just sort of an observer on this stuff. I think, but the exact argument is very similar to what I just sort of laid out is, where's your authority to do this? You know, I mean, where ultimately is your authority in the statute to do this? And I think they're going to have a hard time coming up with that. Now, law is interpretational, you know, so we definitely, there's a case in the United States where they came up with the penumbra of due process, basically 9 judges, or in that case, I think 5 or 6, just sort of created that out of whole cloth. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't. I have my issues with mask mandates for a lot of different reasons. Human rights not violations, but I think there are basic notions of, you know, basic human rights. Nobody can really tell you what to do outside in an unreasonable manner. You know, 2 years ago, you know, back in May of 2020, when we didn't know what was going on, I think it was more reasonable. 21 months down the road, where we know exactly what this is, and especially where things are starting to taper off, I think it's just time we seriously reinvestigate this and maybe come up with a new policy.
All right, so we look forward to the meeting between Ben and the Prime Minister.
Which I doubt will ever happen, and I hope never does.
As he pushes his case. Just if you want some advice from me on this, if you are coming to Thailand, currently it is expected that you wear a mask in public. And if you want to defy that, do that at your own behest, because you really don't want to get into any trouble. You don't probably want to offend the locals.
Right.
You certainly don't want to offend or get in trouble with the local police.
Let me be clear, just to follow up on that. This is very much, and I'm aware of this, a very dissenting opinion at the moment. And I'm not unaware of that. You're exactly right. The current regulations, especially indoors, no doubt about that, you know, and I've said this many times, when we were talking about making this video, private property, for example, if malls say they want masks for the people that come, you know, shopping malls.
Oh, shopping centres, I think.
Shopping centres. They say, look, you got to have a mask to come in here. In my opinion, that's private property. They have a right to refuse if you don't do that and comply. But, you know, I've kind of had issues ever since the WHO came out, especially with outdoors, and said, look, if you're outdoors and you're not around a bunch of people, no, you don't really need to worry about that. And I know a lot of people, it really upsets them here. And again, I understand it's a dissenting opinion. You're exactly right. If you're a foreign national coming in here, expect to be wearing a mask pretty frequently here in Thailand.
A question without notice as we sort of say goodbye to this topic. When eventually the double CSA is wound up and they say, okay, you don't have to wear a mask outside anymore, how many Thais do you think will still keep wearing masks? I would say half of them. That's my prediction.
I think it's going to be all about timing. I think right at the beginning, people just kind of keep doing it. I think it'll taper off. I think you'll see about a third very quickly taper off, and then it'll be like 50-50. And then about a year and a half down. If you recall, this came upon us gradually from 2020. It really was not done across the board until April of this past year, 2021. So I think it'll be gradual, but it'll taper off, and there'll be a certain number of people that just won't do it almost from the get-go, and then there'll be people that want to. My personal opinion is, and I find this very strange, I see this a lot as an observer on American news, that there's like this hatred of mask wearers. Yeah. I don't feel that way at all. It's just, I don't think it should be mandated. You know, that's my big issue. If people want to wear a mask, that's their business, obviously, you know.
It's done nothing for the CCTV business.
No.
Also, I can confidently predict the comments section will be full of people with the first 3 words saying, masks don't work. and off they go. So we don't really want to talk about the...
I can't speak to that. I don't have the expertise at all on that.
So we don't want to talk about the health issues, the medical issues. We're trying to talk about the legal issues. And Ben, you put us straight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep.
Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. Ben's got his own channel, and you can, if you type in Ben Hart Integrity Legal mask wearing, I'm sure it'll probably take you to his video.
Probably will do.
In the meantime, thank you for joining Lawyers, Guns and Money, and we'll see you next time with our next topic.